again, this is SETHIKUS, BOZA, blackearthproductions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. At the moment, I've been hailed by a circle member, Maximus North, who was sharing with me some interesting things before we got started here in light of some projects he's working on and everything that's basically working to be developed still. We were just speaking about the current retrograde with Saturn and how you're sensing the Dark Elves in context. Svartálfar from Svartálfar, correct?
Yeah, so what you feel when they first interface with you is they send you this bliss state of consciousness they put you in, and that's them throwing a false, blinding light at you, and then they can go into and start manipulating you. I've been interfacing with these entities for quite a while now. You know when they're manipulating you. They attack me less now because they know that I'm not that easy of a target.
Right.
And there's a difference between the light elves, which are more subtle in how they approach you, and true light, and they reveal truths to you. And angels are more like Valkyries. Just in general, spiritual terms, the whole point of being a guardian angel, that's kind of what an Valkyries are. Or an ascended master is probably a much better putting it.
Ultimately, you are your own ascended master. That's what we are meant to be here. In light of the ancestors and these codes and this fucking powerful shit. Once you understand the science.
Yeah.
What is your position with Saturn?
Capricorn, a lot of Capricorn, so I kind of understand Saturn very well. And
okay, so it's pretty intense right now as far as feeling like you're scaling a fucking cliff.
Yeah. But I have the open-mindedness of a Cancerian to balance that closed-minded and open-mindedness out. I can imagine someone who has your sun sign Capricorn and moon sign Capricorn, they can be quite closed-minded and quite narrow in the way of seeing things because it's all about the constriction of the limitations. So you kind of get stuck looking into certain things, then very focused in them, trying to learn about every single detail and not have time for other things outside of that. And that's kind of what Saturn is. It puts you in a box in a way. And the Abrahamic religions use this as a way of putting people in basically a metaphysical box around their head. The Mecca is a giant black cube. In Judaism, they put a black cube on their head while they go and pray at the Wailing Wall.
Right. Cross, when folded up, it folds into the fucking tesseract. Man.
Yeah. All the Abrahamic religions come from the Saturnian archetype.
The inversion of Saturn. Saturn's not evil, but it's the most malefic planetary energy if it's inverted. It's the absolute most malefic, even more malefic than Mars.
I mentioned this in my Shadow Dragon videos, how the belt around Saturn was once the planet, and that was the gateway to Níðhöggr, the dwarf realm of Maldek.
Well, the rings of Saturn, as far as I'm concerned, are fragments of Maldek, man.
That is Níðhöggr, then Maldek, because Níðhöggr was originally where Svartálfar was, and Svartálfar basically terraformed Níðhöggr into their realm. So
it's where consciousness was shattered and fragmented, man.
And the dwarf's function was to basically keep the chaos out, basically, was to create a fortress to basically keep the chaos from completely destroy the Logos, if you will. The Trinity or the Logos is the order of the universe. In the Indo-European tradition, this is not original to Christianity or the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. In the Indo-European tradition, it has the Logos, and that was regional, and that was could even be personal. Like my Logos, for example, was Odin, Freya, and myself. My father being Odin, my mother being Freya, and me being the Sun. So
it's the antithesis of actually bodying the Logos in context.
And to go against that Logos is to cause chaos in the world. I'm talking about chaos as in trying to start chaos within the psychology of human beings and even other beings and like that, and trying to get them confused and get them not knowing out of their center the malignant side of what chaos is.
Yeah, dark elf shit.
Yeah.
See, Saturn is there to forge you. Saturn's there to put you through the fucking gauntlet. And Saturn put me through the fucking ringer, man. You want to talk about interface with evil? Saturn is like an old master ninja. And see if you're really worth what is there as potential. Throw you into the flames and test your material existence. That's the main thing with Saturn, testing the material. and all the fucking trials that we're up against is directed by Saturn. And see all that Saturn energy in context to the cults that came out of the Middle East all worship that inverted Saturn energy. Whether they recognize it or not, it all goes back to their star god. It even says that in the Old Testament, man.
Yeah.
They made altars to the star god.
The Star of David is the version of Saturn.
It's actually a Babylonian sigil. Seal of Solomon and all that shit. It's all of that dark sorcery that came forth from the Middle East in context of the Sumerian Draconian Empire. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says otherwise. In context to the tradition of our ancestors, going into prehistory, it's much, much older than when they started to fucking colonize.
Yeah.
Right? Those people have been so layered the fuck up. It's almost as if their codes are completely fucking vaporized, man. What is the true animist tradition of people in that region of the world, man? It's a fucking mystery. They would say it goes back to Chaldea, Babylon, and Samaria. Okay, but there was shit going on like we know even before that now.
Closest thing you could come to is their indigenous tradition was the Canaanites had, or the Levantine, probably the closest thing you could have in the Middle East. But then they have the god names like El and Baal and stuff like that.
That's all Orion Gridworks, man, in context to the fallen Anu.
And you've got to remember, a lot of the Middle Eastern tribes were actually captured as slaves and brought back to the Mesopotamian region, just brought back who were the people they could find closest to them and use them as slaves and actually did into their genetics.
I'm just thinking, in light of what we're getting into, man, what is the true animist tradition of those people? And then all the archetypes that came forth. There's a lot of talk about Lucifer, and that whole fucking thing was pretty much broken the fuck down when I spoke with Michael Tessariano. And with what you're sharing with about Svartálfar, Midfilia, right? Saturn, I'm highly fucking interested as far as what's being revealed to you now.
As we're going back in what the indigenous tradition was in the Middle East, some ideas give to me as maybe the ancient Egyptian was more spread out than we thought it were and wasn't just in the Nile region. And that could have been
correct.
Pangaea.
That's where it's going in context, man. It's going into prehistory.
Yeah.
Some would even say that Pangaea is bullshit. But I had fucking memory on top of research and study. And it was revealed to me that a lot more would be unearthed. A lot of archaeology, even the stuff that they kept hidden, is going to come out. But of course, they're always going to twist the fucking narrative on shit. You really got to become your own ascended master.
Yeah.
Isn't that the reason why we came here? Why the fuck are we here? To be slaves? To the Saturn shit? This inverted malefic force that locks you into that tesseract, which is the broken cross, and then of course the inverted cross. Both sigils are within the tesseract, and that's where things have been since what happened.
That's interesting. Have you seen the film Justice League? Let's just race.
I know about Justice League. I collected DC when I was growing up.
Basically, in the film, there's this alien in it, who's the overlord alien, who comes down, and he's looking for the 3 mother boxes, what are these black cubes, and there's 3 of them. And one's given to the Atlanteans, one's given to the Amazons, and one's given to the humans, and they keep them hidden for aeons. And then basically this alien invader comes down and tries to basically collect all 3 of them so he can conquer the world, and the fact that there's 3 of them as well.
Yeah, that goes back to the primordial womb in context being fucking inverted, man.
Yeah.
And triangulated within the 124875 or 124578. The student that I was talking to last night has been initiated. Me and this young man were cracking mathematical fucking codes, dude. And going into the mysteries of equations that some of the most proficient mathematicians out there can't even fucking calculate.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they can't calculate it is because they're boxed into mathematics and they don't know about the other arts and sciences that need to be incorporated so that you get a full spectrum perception of what's actually fucking going on with numbers as guides. These 3 cubes, are you taking that back to the quote-unquote Trinity sigil?
Yeah, the Logos. It's an inversion of the Logos.
Right.
this could be expressed even in the three Abrahamic religions. You have Judaism, the father, Islam, the mother, and Christianity, the son. Islam means submission. Submit is a feminine act, and the way they repress the feminine as well, heavily in that religion, unleashes the dark feminine force. And then you have Judaism, which is the father because it's the first one. It's the one that wrote all the laws down and everything. It's the father. It's the patriarch. It's just patriarchal, masculine archetypes within it. And then you have the son, which is Christianity, and that's more for obvious reasons. It's to do with Jesus is the sun and stuff, the solar symbolism involved with that. So
that's where they steal the hardcore intelligence. That's where that hardcore intelligence is equipped with the blinding light of the dark Luciferians.
Yeah. And it's also a dying sun as well. That's another thing. It's not the light.
Black sun, man. Yeah, that's what the fucking cube is. You know, people talk about all this gray, right?
Yeah.
You can't see it in black and white, man. You gotta see it within the gray. No, there are black and white here in context to how reality actually fucking works. And you're either on or you're not, right?
Yeah.
So this inversion of the womb gave way to the dark gods, like you were saying, man. That's the fucking void.
Yeah.
So that's Da'ath on the inverted tree of death in context to Kabbalah, which is nothing more than a clip-off. Mirrored. This is a major fucking controversy as far as I'm concerned when it comes to magic as a whole, man. Because this is a lot of what people are into. Saw it get peddled the fuck out back in like 2004, 2005. I already knew about this shit. But what do you think about things going into prehistory? The Alfar, the Jotuns, the Dark Alfar, the Aesir, the Vanir, all of this in light of the ancestors, to what you're saying about the true womb, because nowhere in the Nordic tradition is there any sort of fucking reference to draconian consciousness. But dragging consciousness all goes back to the original shaman lines, man. It goes back to the original dragon lineage, and we are both white dragon lineage, man.
Yeah.
I had a vision about the white dragon the other night. After I got attacked fucking hardcore, man. And then the next night I was going into transmuting all this fucking shit that's coming up in light of what we're talking about and the retrograde. There was this black mist going across the skyline and the mountains coming up into the sky. Stars were out, the moon. I go into this vision and I'm overlooking this skyline just going out as far as the eye can see. Next thing I know, this unbelievably massive white dragon comes up out of that fucking mist. I'm on a cliffside observing this massive white dragon throwing its wings, and all of this mist started to swirl around me. It was as if I was that dragon in reflection observing itself. And then I saw the dragon and I could see both perceptions as far as paradox of perceptions. Fucking whacked out shit, man. The scales of this white dragon were pure fucking white, but more, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And there were shining silver sparkle coming through the scales as well. It was silver and white, glistening with the moonlight hitting it. It was the most unbelievably majestic fucking creature I've ever seen. This thing was massive. I'm talking about fucking massive. And it was coming up out of this black mist, okay? So from that point, when that paradox of perception was taking place, all of a sudden up out of the fucking mist came that shadow dragon. Its fire was this black mist. That was the shadow dragon's fire, was this black mist. And when that black mist hit me, that black mist, if it hits you, will drive you fucking insane and pull you into the Underdark. One thing I realized, awakening of the ancient shaman lines, coming up out of this mist of insanity. It broke out of the mist flying, right? Next thing I know, I'm looking down, and then I see the face of the shadow dragon. And it's interesting that you hit me up, because I had this vision the night before. And it had red flaming eyes, and I could see it through the mist, barely the fucking features and shit like that. And blasted out its black fire. It's dark fire. I'll say not black, dark. This mist, this pure fucking evil, man. unadulterated. The white dragon dodged it, but some of it hit the side of its body, up on its left wing. It was diving right. And when that mist hit the body of the dragon, I could feel it, man. And it literally was trying to pull my brain field into that realm of insanity. Okay, and I've been through those corridors. I've traversed that fucking shit, going through the underworld and all that. But this was fucking different. A major step above that. And it was instant. It wasn't a gradual buildup. It would hit instantly. After that, the dragon rolled right, came back up, and then started fucking dive bombing towards this shadow dragon with full force, dude. As it was blowing out this dark fire. I'm coming down on this fucking shadow dragon. And then right before we're about to make a head-on collision is when the fire of the white dragon came forth and completely fucking annihilated this fucking shadow dragon. It was one of the most profound visions I've ever fucking had. Share with me now what you are picking up on in context to that, and also what is working to be developed here.
Well, the black mist is in the Norse lore, and the black smoke of Surt, who's the fire Jotun, the Lord of Muspelheim. Surt manipulated some of the Alpha to basically come to his domain and become the Dark Alpha, and that's why the Svartálfar are also known as Surt's elves. But the Shadow Dragon is Surt's female consort called Sinmara. Not much is written about her in the lore, but like it's also Surt as well, because he has two sides. He has this feminine side, which is the Shadow Dragon, and also his masculine side, which is his Dark Lord form. It looks kind of like Morgoth or Sauron. And the Alpha were the first, besides the various fauna like animals here, they were the first races on this plane of existence on this earth. Also, you had the Duergar, who basically got wiped out, but there was wars between the different Jotun tribes, but the big war was between the Frost Jotuns, of which originally are from Niflheim, and the Fire Jotuns from Muspelheim.
Right.
And that's what things
See, you were talking about the Canaanites, right? The Canaanites were giants.
Yeah, they're the Fire Jotuns because the deserts were actually created from volcanic eruptions. Huge one. I'm not talking about the ones we get today, but huge explosions. And one happened in North America, where the deserts are there, and one happened in Western Asia, where the Middle East is. This is what created the desert lands from huge volcanic eruptions. Because Egypt was one time actually extremely fertile. We actually didn't have a desert there. It just was very much fertile land that got turned into a desert due to these eruptions. I think the Hyperboreans, the Frost Jotuns from Niflheim, with the Polarians being the Alpha. This gets into like the root races and
this is all going into prehistory.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about the Nordic tradition. It goes back at least 300,000 fucking years.
Yeah.
Into even deeper occult knowledge in context to the Serian Gridworks of consciousness. This is going back over 200 fucking billion years, man. In context to the old one's resurgence into the Nine Worlds, which was the cause point for the war between the Aesir and the Vanir. So if all is within, like we know, that conflict is ever only going to be resolved if people are initiated onto the true magical path. Otherwise, they're going to be caught in that inverted womb. They're going to be caught in that void that devours itself. That's where the Shadow Dragon reigns. And there's a difference between the Black Dragon of the South and the Shadow Dragon. The deeper I go with this path work, your insights to things are very fucking potent.
I've got some ideas about what the Shadow Dragon could be in context of the Black Dragon and the Red Dragon.
Well, it's had an effect on everything.
Yeah.
This dark fire has burned out the consciousness of the four cardinal directions, man.
Also, the Shadow Dragon turned both the Black Dragon and the Red Dragon against the White Dragon and the Yellow Dragon.
Yep.
Because the Black Dragon and the Red Dragon are feminine, whereas the Yellow Dragon and the White Dragon are masculine. You look at where the four cardinal points are on the Earth, and you look where these cultures which reside there, how patriarchy is mainly manifested in the north of Europe, or all Europe in general, but also in the Far East. And then matriarchies developed more in the African continent and the Americas, or I talk about the Native Americas. So Even though there was actually a matriarchy under the Vanir here in Europe before the Aesir came in from the Caucasus Mountains, which was the Indo-Europeans. The Indo-Europeans are the Aesir.
Yeah, in context, the blood codes. You know, when you're getting into soul codes in context, traveling the universes of the spindle of the true universal tree of life, this knowledge is not public anywhere. So us coming on and having this conversation, we are doing something highly unique here at Black Earth Productions. What do you take to that vision?
What I take of that vision is basically the true light coming out of the darkness, which has kept the whole of, all life in ignorance. And the light, what comes out of that, is the white dragon, and the darkness or the shadow, what I would call Surt's cloud over the consciousness of the planet, kept under ignorance of the white dragon that comes out of that and basically annihilates all of the ignorance and darkness which Surt had plagued upon the planet for aeons. Loki is also a fire Jotun. He is related to Surt.
So what they said in the movies that he was a frost giant is bullshit.
Yeah, because they say also that he is the brother to Thor, which is not true because he's actually more of the half brother to Odin.
Man, we're just taking it fucking deeper, man. This is beautiful. I got this banner with the runes, the 4 cardinal directions. When I faced attack last year, I had this cat. His name was Wizard. My guardian wizard became full-on fucking possessed and ripped and tore itself to fucking pieces. I came home and saw blood everywhere. I was like, what the fuck? And that banner got torn off the fucking wall. And there was blood in the area of Muspelheim.
Muspelheim is how Surt has taken dominion over that realm, which is power of fire in order to create destruction and also to cast the false light.
This is what happened in Mid-Valir.
What happened was Surt manipulated the original Alpha and he made them his personal army of an Alpha sorcerer as well, the Svartálfs. He sent them to Níðhöggr to overtake that realm and terraform it into Svartálfheim.
In context to dragon consciousness inverted and thus became draconian.
Yeah.
And that's where the genetics became distorted. The original dragon lines were either completely fucking annihilated, working to be annihilated, or they were given over to this distortion. And so the original human in reflection here is the Alpha.
You got to remember, each one of these races from these 9 worlds came down at a particular time. All these races combined together equal now humans.
The true human, I would say, in light of the ancestors, goes back to Kvasir, token of the gods. It was said that there was no question he could not answer. So Kvasir was here, and we were able to ask Kvasir a shit ton of fucking questions. That meat of poetry, that wisdom was fucking shattered as well. And he was murdered by the dwarves from Svartálfar.
The Duga, and that's what the Saturn ring is a gateway to Níðhöggr. So Níðhöggr is in shatters, basically.
And that all goes back to Malbec, man.
Yeah. When the Duga came to Midgard, a lot more stockier and shorter than us, they had actually stronger bones, I think, than modern Homo sapiens. I think in most humans, actually, have at least 2% or maybe even lower of Neanderthal DNA within us.
In light of this conversation, all worlds and universes are converging here in Midgard.
Yeah.
Humans being at the apex trajectory, it's no fucking wonder we're up against what we have been. And when the gods say they're ready to fucking evolve, when the gods say that they're ready to know what we know, doesn't that say a lot about who the fuck we actually are here? Having come into this fucking place, dude, facing all the things that we have in life, for what? What's the purpose, right?
Well, like I was saying, these things were actually here on the physical Midgard at one time. And you see these skeletons of giants. Well, they used to basically more be present in the Victorian era of just finding these giants all over the planet. When archaeologists used to excavate, pictures go missing and the bones go missing suddenly, very shortly after recollecting them and presenting them. There's photographs of them, but the bones and the skeletons just go missing because we all know that there's certain institutions that don't want this stuff coming out. This is now documented that there were giant humanoids, and this is the Jotuns. Then you have the Alpha, but the reason why it's very hard to find physical records of this, of skeletons raised the Alphas, because they weren't as dense as a lot of the other races of the Nine Worlds, what came into the physical. So they might have not even had the same type of structures of density, muscle or skeletons and organs have, and they saw the world as a spiritual place, and they didn't even need to eat or absorb any energy into their bodies because they were completely in touch. They could just basically touch something and it probably absorb that energy and give some of their energy back. If you take something, you've got to give something back. This is the way they saw the world.
It's the law of give up, man.
Yeah, they were understanding of this, and so they were first, and the Jotuns obviously also came down. But you've got to understand there's different races and subgroups of Jotuns that not look the same or appear the same or have the same traits. There's the Frost Jotuns, there's the Fire Jotuns, there's Sea Jotuns, there's Wild Wood Jotuns, and that's an interesting one, the Wild Wood.
See, that all goes back to the elements.
Yeah, but they're also the forces what cause natural disasters.
Right, the elements of nature.
Elements
are essentially there to guide us, but those have also been manipulated against us. There's the physical manifestation of fire, water, earth, air. But what's the consciousness of fire? What's the consciousness of earth? What's the consciousness of water, air?
Like I said, the four primary human races, the European, the African, the Amerindian, and the East Asian,
right,
mastered all the four elements, and our element we mastered was fire.
Yeah, those are the original dragon lineages. White dragons of the north, red dragons of the west, yellow dragons of the east, and black dragons of the south. Go back to the pigment. We all have melanin.
Yeah.
It isn't just the black man that has melanin. Our melanin is red. In light of how the paradox with the axis mundi actually fucking operates, man. We've all been at war with one another in light of that shadow mist that has pulled us into the realms of insanity. We're officially in the new eon. All of this inverted shit, yeah, it's going to continue to be exposed. But for those of us that have been on this as long as we have, the torch is being fucking passed. And it's a major fucking responsibility. We're not out of the fucking woods. It's like fucking Mirkwood, you know?
I mean, I had the responsibility of being a guardian to the heart chakra of the earth, the British Isles. So this is why they do social experiments first here in the British Isles, and then it gets unleashed onto the rest of the world, where you don't really notice it as much. Well, unless you live here like I do, you probably don't hear about it as much. But then it gets in more of its extreme form in America. The world looks to America visually. The Red Dragon vortex is there.
I am in one of those vortices where I live.
Yeah.
And so I'm picking up on everything that's happening in the dragon lines, man. Ley lines are also what? Dragon lines. Why do you think they set up all their fucking shit on the dragon lines? So that they can send out this dark ritual fucking shit, these tests, these experiments, all this fucking social conditioning to keep humanity enslaved. That's the fucking agenda. And they don't care how it happens as long as it happens. Just as long as people don't wake the fuck up and remember like we are. These individuals have no fucking idea what they've been cut off from, man. The paradox here with that dark fire is something that the Earth Magician deals with. This is Capricorn. Am I failing? The Water Magician deals with, am I going to be betrayed? Going into that mist of that fucking dark fire, man, our greatest fears are going to rise to the fucking surface. And this is something that's coming up in light of this retrograde right now. On top of the fact that the earth energies, the Schumann resonance, it's spiking, and it keeps on spiking. The heart of the earth itself is awakening. We're going to go ahead and take a short break now. This is SETHIKUS BOZA, Black Earth Productions. We will be right back.
The serpent lights the ancient sky, a thread of tainted stars. Evil stirs, and in its wake the souls of mortals sway. over fields of red and spirits pace through the shadows cast by their graves. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. Darkness strikes to blind the strong, but faith will guide our swords. Loyal hearts will stand as one and fight with shields of hope. Pride feels the deadly fire that devours our tower of gold. The drums of war will rage and roar till the sun burns bright once more. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. Darkness strikes to blind the strong, but faith will guide our swords. Loyal hearts will stand as one and fight with shields of hope. Pride feels the deadly fire that devours our tower of gold. The drums of war will rage and roar till the sun burns bright once more. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave
back now from the break. This is SETHIKUS, BOZA, BLACKEARTHproductions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. I'm joined here with Maximus North in a very interesting Inner Circle segment where we are breaking down some of the true occult history in context to everything that has taken place in the ancient past and are now coming into the wake of more being unveiled and more being revealed as we embrace the codes of Albion and consciousness of the ancestors igniting from within our blood. That's what I'm feeling right now, and not allowing fear to rule us.
Fear is always going to be within love, sadness, happiness. I mean, it's your Yomanda at the end of the day. You can't escape. What you can do is stand up to fear. Courage is not being scared of nothing. Courage is standing up to your fear.
Right.
Yeah, that's what the definition of courage is.
And you could stand there fucking trembling. When you got that fucking beast that's ready to tear you asunder, you don't move and you stand within the fulcrum. You stand your fucking ground. Taking your people to the next fucking level. You just want to play the fucking victim. Those days are gonna end in context to melanin, melatonin, blood codes, soul codes, spirit to soul code template, the monad, the dyadic consciousness. That pillar and the Serians in context to the ancient mythos. There's ancient Serian consciousness. I have ancient Serian soul code genetics. The crystalline agenda is this dark agenda. Transhumanism, eugenics, splicing and hybridizing and colonizing and all this fucking shit that came forth from the inversion of what that consciousness originally was in light of Mid-Valir. So, where is this all going, Maximus? Where is everything going in trajectory? What have you foreseen in context of any sort of vision in light of your personal path work? Where does that trajectory go?
Well, what I see as a potential future, obviously we're trying to expand our consciousness to this, but then we got to remember that not everyone is, and they're not going to be able to understand even what we're talking about right here. And I don't even dare talk to most people like what we're talking about here. You know, people who I think are trying to expand their consciousness stuff, I do give them some information to try and get them to go further with it, and whatever they do with that is up to them. I have no control. I don't think in the next 10 years, I don't really see a mass awakening, to be honest. But I think in 500 years' time, things could look very different.
Yeah, and I've been talking about that as well. What are we forging now? What are we encrypting now? What are we in the position to co-create?
What I think is we're the ones who are going to reconnect to what was originally there.
And, you know, I'm putting pieces together on a level I can't even get into yet. Because people aren't fucking ready, man.
Yeah.
I would like them to be ready. Having wisdom and being able to know how to communicate with people, they might not even know where to start. So individuals like us, we come on, I'm trying to break things down on a foundation level. I never leave that foundation, you know, master the fundamentals. And then everything else that comes in trajectory, you see how it connects truth itself. Truth is the master teacher of what you potentially already know.
Yeah.
And if you don't own it, I know that I know that I know. And that whole notion of the wise man knows he knows nothing. The wise man knows that he knows a lot, but that more is going to be revealed. Let's change that phrase. If we negate what's been revealed, a lot of people, they're all over the place. They don't have a proper foundation. That's why nothing fucking works for them. But this fucking works. And for me, to the things that we're getting into, it's just more confirmations. The true dragon lineages are awakening. And that's what this is all about, that vision that I've had and how it connects to the mythos, how it connects to even deeper occult sciences in light of some of the things I was talking about in context to Serian gridworks of consciousness. And that's just one gridwork. You think about the Octurans and the Orions and the Andromedans and all this shit. Those are the stargates where this consciousness, right?
Yeah.
People are so focused on the surface. What is the Serian consciousness? What is the Orion consciousness? What is the Arcturian consciousness? That's all the fuck it is. Here, we are human. Returning back to the original in context to the alpha, man. That consciousness coming back online. And all of the distortions within the blood codes, soul codes, and all this kind of stuff. That's where all of these hook-ins with the dark fire have inserted themselves.
Yeah.
And having interface with spirits, entities, and all this kind of stuff, man, it's still given over to a narrative where something's happening to you. But you don't see how the activations we've been going through that are taking place are giving you the experience of having that interface when it's already fucking been encrypted. So taking back these Gridworks and bridging the worlds and healing things in light of the fragmentation, it's a massive fucking undertaking. So what have you been doing in light of developing Gnosis in context of magic? How have the manifestations been going for you?
I've been developing a system, basically. The runes, the Omen scripts, the totems, got a list here somewhere. The chakras, the planets, into like one Indo-European system of Gnosis. The Albionic tradition combines all these different pieces of the Indo-European magical systems because then they got fractured when the different ethnicities broke off. So you got the Germanic runes, you got the Gaelic or Celtic Omen, you got the Vedic Greek astrology, you got the planets and all this different stuff, combining all that together into one thing from the Indo-European perspective.
Now that's brilliant what you just said in light of the ancient tradition of Albion. Now I'm working with many, many different systems as well, and I've seen how everything clicks together in a particular way. And it takes a lot of hardcore research and study to actually see what we're talking about here. And it's not some kind of like bullshit mashup.
No.
You're actually seeing the pieces connect.
Yeah. Problem with the New Age is that they take pieces from Native American, build the African, they build the Far East Asian, they build the European, but mix them all together into this thing they don't really understand. The point is you've got to start from your roots. You can't just go and pick something that isn't actually in your own blood codes, because that's not.
See, that's a major problem with most Caucasian individuals. They don't know their fucking roots.
Caucasians have been heavily disconnected from their roots for so long.
Because Christianity and all that shit. Europe was the second place the Dark Ones colonized the earth.
Yeah.
Like I said, it started in the Middle East. It went up into fucking Europe and then dropped down to fucking Africa and spread like a fucking virus.
Yeah.
Wiping out all of the original shaman lines or getting them to side with them. This is where the Dark Priest class comes from. Playing on those codes for their fucking agendas. They're just fucking puppets, man. For the Dark Gods. That's all the fuck they are.
Why do you think the Vatican has all the different races in the Vatican? Okay.
Right, well, what do you think the New World Order agenda is, man? In context to the New Dawn.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody talks about New Dawn agenda. Nobody. They're still caught up in this old paradigm when there's been transfers of power. All right? It's like a fucking race right now. Yeah. Are the wisdom councils going to manifest again? I don't fucking know. Whatever the fuck else is going on, it's not working. And it's not some kind of vote-in fucking bullshit. You either are or you're not. But what does that mean for the rest of humanity? It doesn't mean a fucking thing. It just is going to give them the opportunity to come to remember what the fuck is really going on. You know, and this is why I'm focused on one-to-one mentorship, because this is the only fucking method that I feel is going to be truly effective with what is meant to come. Those that are willing to go through the gauntlet. Those that are willing to rise up above all of this bullshit that we see in the fucking world that cannot continue the way that it has been. Proper knowledge and wisdom needs to be reinstated. Universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms. Those teachings, which are irrefutable and are eternal, and are the birthright of humanity if people would wake the fuck up and come into alignment with what they are meant to come into alignment with. See, what we got currently is not anything that our generation has created. What are we creating? What are we setting forth? Again, it's a massive undertaking. It's a major, major responsibility. And I would rather go for it now in my life and not necessarily see the end result of the work that's being developed for the future generations, knowing that certain individuals are going to take this even deeper and further than we could possibly imagine right now. And so it's not to say that what we do doesn't matter. It does matter. Again, no matter how big or small it is, as long as you are in alignment, you are bringing forth your gifts to the world as you are meant to. And this is just one factor. There are many, many, many different things that all of this in context to the wisdom councils bleeds out into the way that we are living our lives and having our existence here, instead of all this geopolitical fucking bullshit, man. And again, 500 years, right?
Yeah.
The resets due between 2065, 2085 or some shit. So even though I can see up ahead, it's not a fucking guarantee. The human race has already been fucking annihilated in context to the ancient future. They got their transhuman timeline and went on to the next fucking place. There's others within the inner circle that say we're living in the past. And it's not any sort of fear mongering, because the way things are going, it's fucking inevitable. And this technology, this crystalline technology, it all goes back to the Svartálfar, that dark, inverted, Alfarian, false, cold light technology. We've just lined it out in this segment, very clear in how all of this connects the past and the ancient future right now into the present moments we find ourselves living here in Midgard. What else are we fucking capable of as humans? Because I've had lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in fucking war, man. And this life, I'm healing through a lot of that fucking shit. I vowed I would not join the fucking military.
Yeah, that's the same
But I'm fit for that shit. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Go back to what happened in Egypt. You were there.
Yeah.
You remember. I was too, man. That is where it all fucking started, man. And then the rest of what's developed since then has been a branch off of that.
Yeah.
Of that fucking wound among the brotherhoods.
Yeah.
Who betrayed the wisdom councils, going back to Cult of Belial, Brotherhood of the Snake, the Thothians, there were others as well. This breach has never been fucking healed. I don't know if it ever fucking will, man. Because the Dark Ones can't know what we know. The only way they could ever truly know is that they finished the initiation that their ancestors were not willing to complete. And that's what happened. Those that went dark did not complete the initiation in context to the biospiritual regenesis, which again was the original purpose of incarnation after what happened. Instead, their ancestors chose what they did so that they could rule over men as the gods, but are nothing like the true gods, let alone connected to the higher force or anything truly powerful or life-giving. It's that false light that takes away your light potential and fuel lines their Gridworks, as I've explained over and over and over again in so many different ways here on Black Earth Productions. And with you coming on, Maximus, reinforcing the endeavor, hopefully more people that have been considering actually coming into alignment and who seek one-on-one mentorship with individuals that have completed the initiation beyond what any of the Dark Ones out there ever have. See, I know what they know. I went that route when I was younger. There's other black magicians I've had conversations with.
Yeah.
From a neutral parlay. And they know a lot. But it all comes from that inverted draconian consciousness that is only played upon the codes of the original dragon lineages. And now the crystalline Serian B, Dark, Alpha agendas are being set in place because their genetics are so fucking distorted. This is what they're being sold by the Svartálfar, the Dark Alpha, because they are still not willing to correct the mistakes of the ancestors and actually come on and be a partaker of the true biospiritual regenesis. And the way that it works, it's designed to seal off the infection. This is what they're promoting to the fucking masses with all of the new age shit, all of this false ascension, completely violating cosmic law, man. And this is what is also happening in context to organized occultism. However many magic orders out there exist, it's a safe bet to say that all of them are working within that closed loop system and don't have the viable proper knowledge and wisdom necessary to make the next jump of evolution when it comes to our kin.
That's the whole globalist agenda.
Right, and that's socialism world fucking wide.
We've had it, I think, for a bit longer, because like I said, they do it here in Britain before they take it over to America. we've had it for a bit longer than you had with the Fabian Society. That's been going on in our own political system.
Fabians are behind the New Age agenda.
Yeah.
Wolves in sheep's clothing, man. These sick wolves that give our kind a really, really bad fucking name. I'm not a fucking sheep. I'm a goat, I'm a fucking wolf, I'm a fucking dragon. Like I said, it's the pathwork of wolves and dragons, right?
Yeah. Look, I'm in the 20th century with National Socialism, with like Stalin and Hitler. They're perceived as heroes rising up, and what they did?
Right.
They've ended up killing, and
They
themselves.
were taking the fuck over, being financed and sued, all that kind of shit, man. They're just waiting, man. Our tactics can't be the same in light of the mistakes of the ancestors. We're here to correct those fucking mistakes, okay?
Yeah.
So I will not be fucking baited. I will not allow my energy field to be fucking fed upon. I will not allow fear to be invoked.
Yeah.
Now, if something comes into your field, literally, physically, it's within cosmic jurisdiction to fucking eradicate it. You don't go out of your way and take action on violence towards something that's not there to harm. But you think about all of the psychological mind control and fuckery, that's where the real war is. Because you can't go onto the battlefield and fight that shit like back in the day with a physical fucking sword and shield and spear. It's about becoming that weapon yourself. And the gentleman that I spoke with last night wants to take me up on Ulfidnar training. Ulfidnar training is everything to do with war on a quantum fucking level. Not just physical, where you don't know where the attacks are fucking coming from and all this crazy shit that we're fucking dealing with in light of that dark fire. Because they're not just going to hand this realm back over. We really need to stand and hold each other accountable, man. I'm glad you hit me the fuck up because you just kind of went AWOL there for a second. Oh, I get it, man.
Yeah.
You training still?
Yeah, I do. The staff, I see that as part of our training. The staff, you look at the ancient inscriptions of, and he has two spears in his hands, wielding the staff, but the battle staff, which is a long bow, it looks like a bow staff. I train with that. And it's kind of like, you use it as kind of like a saber and wield it. And it's not just physical, it's about clearing away the things that are trying to invade your circle. That's how I clear away my circle. I get out that staff and I wield it around, clear out certain energies I don't want in my circle. But it also can be used as a weapon as well. Not just in a physical sense, but also in a metaphysical sense as well. Sometimes wild spirits come towards me, then I banish them with that staff after I've done my ritual. And yeah, I go to the woods where I live, out surrounded by these birch trees, and I go into the circle and alter my consciousness within that. Birch tree means beginnings. It corresponds with the Fool card as well.
Fool card is Sul, which was the original term for soul, Sul. The Fool has the staff.
Yeah.
So you're literally embodying the symbolism of the archetype and the energy of the hardcore intelligence in your fucking ritual, man. That's fucking powerful. And see, training on this level with anyone is also going to become highly unique, given over to these arts and sciences that we are in practice with. I mentioned not too long ago that I had a magic sword reforged again out of the fires of my codes and the things that I remembered. Lineage. And it too is a magical weapon. I could literally take it into battle as its main purpose, but I use it for ritual. And building up that magical energy within the sword, just as you have with your staff, the intention is still the same. And any weapon that we wield is obviously an extension of us as the weapon. And you also got to train fist to cuffs. This is going to become mandatory in context to more advanced initiation when it comes to the Ulfidnar training. And it's something that individuals are going to have to take upon themselves. I will show them the tools, hone in on their personal skills. But again, like with anything, the individual is going to have to take it upon themselves. Like you have. Like I have as well. But also work to live your life at peace with everyone as long as it depends on you. That's one of the major keys with all of this. And when it comes to coming into the ranks of the most advanced initiations, people are going to have to take that Ulfidnar training as a requirement with the Blue Flame Healing Arts and Occult Science. And before that, at the most basic foundation level, this is what I'm encouraging with the full pack initiation right now with our services. I was informed by another member of our circle that the inverted masculine energy would work to be amplified this year. Now, have you been experiencing anything like that?
Well, the inverted masculine energy is what I conceive as high physical violence, and I haven't expressed any of that. I kind of get the thoughts like in my head.
Right.
And I sometimes look
In
at
context to the shadow dragon consciousness.
Yeah, I look at the mirror and it has red eyes. It looks exactly like me, basically, but more like paler and vampiric and like sharper teeth.
Yeah.
So that's
I
like,
understand that.
yeah, I kind of see it be an expression of that dark masculine within myself. Like there's other people probably have their own versions of it within themselves. You have to keep that under control because it can.
That's what I was saying. They are working to amplify that energy specifically with male humans. And I felt it, man. This is why I'm having these fucking visions. And for anybody else out there that's dealing with this shit, pay attention to what we're talking about right now, because it's not going to stop. And if people aren't doing the real work, people aren't focused on what they need to be, then they're going to get pulled into that. Look at what the fuck's happening in France.
Oh yeah, the yellow vest.
This is the Cathar consciousness awakening in light of the ancestors. But it's being spun into fucking chaos, man.
Yeah.
These people don't even know fucking why, other than a surface fucking level of what the fuck is going on in that fucking country. They don't understand why. It's just fucking all out, man.
Yeah.
I remember the day when men rose the fuck up with swords and fucking shields and fucking dealt with shit. All this peaceful protest crap, it's to keep the people unarmed. It's against the law. Well, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
With all our fucking weapons, man. Fuck them. And see, it just goes back to that shit. This pseudo war game, after a month or two, back to the fucking Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I'm not advocating violence, but fucking A, man, nothing has changed. And I'm not saying all out fucking war is gonna fucking change anything, because the real war is within. And it's the same for those that are in the positions of fucking power, man. They're just as afraid.
Yeah. The reason why they get out the riot police is it's attacking the central banks, which is getting to the core of something, because, you know, if they go on
It's getting to the core of greed.
going on an anti-war protest or an anti-immigration protest, that is not actually that much threat to them. But once they attach the central banks, that really is more of a threat to them, because that's getting more to the core of the money power, which is a huge control over the
Well, listen, man, it's also how they keep us divided and conquered. At the same time, they're gonna fucking flip the narrative and promote their socialist agendas. At the same time, people are not taking responsibility for their fucking existence because they want a fucking handout.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is why the state has fucking power. This is why free market's been fucking destroyed, because you're working for a conglomerate corporation that, you know, you're just a fucking number. You're just a fucking slave. And the turnover rate of employees, man, they don't give a fuck. It's not grassroots. It's not fucking anything to do with anything fucking real or learning about what your true destiny is. It's all designed to keep us from remembering. And it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, encrypted within the mental and emotional bodies. And as far as I'm concerned, it's only until people are able to see things from a very real occult perception from all angles on a multi-dimensional level that takes us out of those closed loop systems, that we're going to potentially see the trajectory of what is meant to be manifest in place of all of this. Also in light of what we're going to get into next in context to nationalism and a lot of other things. This is SETHIKUS, BOZA, Black Earth Productions. Maximus and I will be back after the break. And we are back now again. This is SETHIKUS, BOZA, blackearthproductions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. I am joined here with Maximus North, who's a magus within the inner circle, the keepers of the codes of Albion, the White Dragon lineage. It's been a pretty powerful segment so far, breaking down the mythos in a very, very particular way. In light of a lot of this, though, there are some things that are manifesting currently in our reality field in light of the Ancestors' awakening, but we're still dealing with specific distortions that have set themselves in place to offset the full activation of these codes. In light of certain codes activating, though, the concept of nationalism. This is something that you wanted to get into now, Maximus. Correct?
In my country at the moment, nationalism that's rising. Some of these nationalists, I've talked to them, and they're aware of things, but they have this idea that they need to take over the government. The whole point is they're unaware of certain things. They can't see how deep and dark some of this goes. When I start talking to them about the occult, they need to know about that stuff. I can see them as an ally in a certain respect, but they are aware of the political stuff, because I do want to preserve, this country, because I do have an affection for my own people, and I do want to serve them as well. But there's this side of me who doesn't want to get dragged into war. I don't want to go to war.
Well, what the fuck are you going to do if war comes up on your doorstep? Even the most skilled, advanced warriors that really know the fucking difference don't want to be on the battlefield. Once that sword is fucking drawn or whatever the fuck, it's you or me. And that's been the cycles over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because of denial, because of the fact that people don't have any fucking proper knowledge and wisdom, man. Take it back to the Aesir versus the Vanir in context of the positive and negative charge of the energy force. This is how they're hijacking the spindle, man. Why do you think the Aesir and the Vanir went to fucking war? Because of fucking Golvag, dude. That creeped in and infected the consciousness of the gods. It's no different with them than it is with us. That's how deep this shit fucking goes. And people are hacking at the branches, government, all that. Yeah, you need to know what the branch off of this fucking inverted tree of death is, but what's the root of it?
There's plenty of people I speak to who are aware of the government. They're even aware of ETs and stuff like that. But when it comes to the cult, for some reason, they don't want to go too far into it. And I think the reason why is because that's the thing where you're really going to get to the core of what's going on is the occult, because that joins all the other elements together. But even goes deeper than the demiurge, whatever entities behind this, because it goes into what's actually going on within our own souls. If you don't go into the areas of the occult, then you're never going to jump at the deep end, be at the shallow end, looking at one tentacle, but you're never going to actually see the head of the squid, even look into the eye and take it out. And it's not just a study of who's behind the powers and stuff like that. It's about a study of your own self. I think that's even more important.
That's just where you start. Because you're not going to know how to navigate that shit otherwise. It will never fucking happen for people. The knowledge and the secrets are within. Those keys that open the gate to the inner temple. In order to get to that temple, man, you gotta take that quest into the Underdark, into the underworld. And that's what's gonna boil the fuck over if people don't catch this shit. And it's happening anyway. Just the way that we're talking about this is our position. And unless people get on board, it's inevitable. History will repeat itself. There will be nothing new under the black sun consciousness. I hear that quote from time to time, that there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, what sun are we talking about? What sort of consciousness are we talking about? Because the sun is a reflection of that hardcore intelligence. What do you mean nothing new under the sun? If you had true hardcore intelligence, you step into the position as a co-creator to create something unique, something that's never been done before. But in light of the shadow, in light of the black sun consciousness, it just feeds on itself, man, like the Ouroboros, the Tesseract, those 3 cubes that have poisoned the fucking womb of consciousness. Take it back to the circle of the magician. Ganungaga. It's all there. And see, Gunungagap is the origin of everything, right? The first, the beginning. And it's like what it says about everything that stems from the dust that is stretched across the supreme darkness. It says in the mythos that we are the sons and daughters of Ymir, that we were birthed from his hair, and his hair is the trees. The wood from the logos, as you've been touching upon, that were born of Ask and Embla. And see, it's to consider in a sense that we are actually born of this essence in context to symbolism and what the symbolism actually means. Take it back to the elements. This specifically at the moment is earth. But ultimately, we come from the melted Hrym, that the fire of Muspelheim melted the ice of Niflheim. And see, I used to have a lot of interface with very, very malefic, dark shit. You want to talk about having contact with Golveg or Loki, or Hel, or Surtur, or the Svartálfar, or the Jotun. See, all of this is inevitable. There's no getting past this. So upon embracing the alchemical initiation, yes, there's a fucking warning. But again, this path work is all about sovereignty, and you have to make that connection to your sovereign eternal essence within the circle of the magician, which is that reflection of Gunungagap, before you take the journey. Otherwise, anything you come into interface with will end up wrecking you out into the fucking Underdark. And it's that communication with the mighty Urd that needs to be more important than anything else. This also is a reflection of the higher force. And as I've made this my focus in context to my personal path work, and work to focus the energies of what is there within me in context to blood codes, soul codes, the essences that they actually represent, removing that third part and going directly to the source itself, which is Gunungagap. And the deeper I go into meditation and my practice with Seth specifically, I find myself working more with the runes in context to Fire Letter Codex, embracing the wisdom of the Well of Word. You know, and they're pretty much omnipotent powers themselves, right? But it's also important to note that the runes themselves are only a sample of what is truly there. So one way of looking at it, why choose a drop from the ocean when you can simply have the whole fucking ocean? What about our symbol codes? What about the things that are there to dig into and discover in the same fashion, coming onto the true magical path? And see, it all starts at the meeting point of Muspelheim and Niflheim, in context to the Axis Mundi, right here in Midgard. And finding that balance, becoming a gatekeeper. This is my moon in Libra, my Aruda Lagna when it comes to the Vedic tradition, in light of planetary high magic. And using myself as symbolization of Gunungagap as I work with the elements of fire and ice, fire and water. That is the essence of Scorpio. Now naturally the scales are going to tend to tip, and we're going to experience those waves of doubt and fear, and then you will also feel surges of empowerment and forwardment. But it's the element of fire which becomes prevalent while ice becomes infrequent, and vice versa. So at this viewpoint, man, it can be looked at as the equivalent to the yin-yang philosophy, which again is everything to do with the positive and negative charge of the energy force. It's not good and evil, it's not right or wrong, but it's darkness and light, the positive and negative charge of the spindle. And so finding the balance within the fulcrum, with the spirit, the soul code essence, is its purest and truest form within ourselves. And feeding the white wolf that howls the loudest. Doing work with the runes, specifically with Sovilu, Kenas, Urus, Isa, and Lagus. It's these runes specifically that actually become a focal point of meditation here in context. Very, very fucking powerful. And it's these runes that specifically symbolize the Misful and Nifl essence as they surround Urus, which is the rune of Gunungagap. So you can take those runes, the combination of that, and make a bind a weave rune with them and actually use it for ritual. It's very fucking powerful. And use that stave as a representation of Gunungagap. So you can find that balance of fire and ice within you. And so that the yawning scales, not the yawning void, but the yawning scales don't tip. I mean, imagine the possibilities. If Odin was able to do what he did, imagine what we can as well. That's the whole notion. The gods and goddesses don't need to be bowed down to and worshipped. That's the difference here. And taking it even deeper into other teaching that I presented on Black Earth Productions, the psychosomatic Northern Soul Complex segment that I uploaded, man, is protocol teaching. In light of what is within the egg to be birthed, the woe, the fetch, the luck, the haminga, all these different key components of how to streamline sound, consciousness, energy, frequency, and vibration. But what grid work of consciousness are you connected to? Because there's all these fucking grid works, man, and it's exactly how you say. And then there's the play out and the manifestation of how things unfold, right? And all the different ways that they fucking do. It's mind-blowing how it fucking happens. Like how socialism is connected to the Svartálfar, right?
Yeah.
And all these other things as well. And traversing the underworld, that is the path of Odin. And I spoke about Odin recently being the archetype of the master magician, the all-father. That's what he is to me. The all-father of what? True magic, wisdom, proper knowledge, all that shit. This is the tradition. And so the parasitic consciousness infection with the colonization of the Middle East, they're just rerunning that fucking shit all over again, man. The fucking immigration, and it's just the same fucking bullshit. They don't have anything else. How the fuck can't people catch this, man? What the fuck? How can they not fucking see? Going even deeper, it is their fucking plan to do so. Yeah. It's already been laid the fuck out. And people think they're awake because they know what Christianity, Islam, and fucking Judaism is all about now. No, that's a part of their fucking play. Take it deeper into fucking prehistory. Because it's all the same fucking wheel of fucking bullshit, man. It's just gonna keep fucking going. And European paganism was taking the fuck over.
Yeah.
Europe was still pagan when Rome was in rule. Rome is a pagan culture. With that cult, you got to take it back to the cult of Dagon and the cult of Mithras, which has its roots in the Sumerian Draconian Empire. It just has a different face every time it rises up. It's all the same fucking dark gods. So paganism, people talk about being pagan, you got to go into the distortion in context to paganism as well, not just religion. In the face of paganism, they got it stacked out. It fractals the fuck out into multiple shadowed regions. You don't even fucking know where they're until you cross that shit. You know, how deep does it go? How deep does that darkness of ignorance go? That's where I'm trying to take things in the conversation.
Well, with the whole thing you were saying about European paganism, well, I'm trying to basically talk to people in the neo-pagan community, but get them to see past a lot of the late European paganism and the late era before it basically died out or taken over is a distortion of it, and trying to get back into Norse paganism seemed to get trapped in the Viking Age. Trying to get them beyond that.
Yep.
Yeah.
During that time, the dark priest class was in control of everything.
Yeah.
That's why all the wars were taking place. They were just wrecking that shit the fuck out. And our people got pulled into that shit because they were working to colonize.
Yeah.
The sage shamans, the BOZA, told the men not to fucking attack until they said so. But they jumped the fucking gun. Instead of trusting that the ancestors were there. You got 100,000 fucking ancestors backing you up within your fucking blood. What the fuck do we have to be afraid of? People getting into this sort of obsession with Vikings, that's a fucking sliver. That's a tiny, tiny little fucking sliver, man.
The fact is, people need to remember that the Viking wasn't actually necessarily even seen as that great of a thing, even in the Viking Age. It was a seafarer, and it wasn't necessarily something you
It's not anything they were, it's what they did. When you go out on a voyage, they went on a Viking. That's why they were called that, but they didn't call themselves that. Okay, what do they call themselves?
Yeah.
We have no idea. In light of the ancient mythos and what it teaches in all of the different worlds and universes of Yggdrasil, that's what it goes back to for me, man. The schematic of the spindle in context is one of the key components of the true universal tree of life, but it's not the only component.
Yeah.
If anything pure ever came out of the Middle East, it was the Gra tree, which is a part of the true universal tree of life as well. I'm just talking about the geometry of it. I haven't even dived into the fucking Gridworks of consciousness. And I'm gonna be taken as deep as it fucking goes. And yeah, it can be fucking terrifying when it completely rips and tears apart your fucking narrative, man. That's what most people don't want, because then you have to deal with the fear of not knowing and embracing the supreme darkness. The highest level of the occult is the supreme darkness, the unknowable. That's the true essence of what Gunungagap is to me. And ultimately, there's no grid work of consciousness we can't access if we pull things back into alignment from the core. You're going to have all sorts of crazy shit revealed to you.
I mean, all of it is really going back to the primordial, really. And what I see is also the true logos in terms of metaphysics and theology is the pantheism, the animism, and the polytheism. You have the pantheism, which is the understanding of the universe and the universal order, which is the Father. The animism, which is the understanding of your rooted life on this earth and your rooted traditions, which is the Mother. And the polytheism is the sons and daughters, not just you as a son or daughter, but the sons and daughters around you, brothers and sisters, being the polytheism, the multiplicity of archetypes and archetypal personalities that exist around you and how you interact with those different archetypal personalities. They're the three, that's the triad, the trinity of Logos, and that was the original trinity of Logos. You also have your own personal one, which is connected to your own ancestral archetypes, but you also have the one which is the theological and metaphysical understanding of the pantheism, animism, and polytheism, which is every single indigenous tradition has, not just in the Indo-European, but all around the world, has that a version of that. That's what they're trying to eradicate, and they first distorted it, and then introduced the monotheism, the 3 black cubes, and that's what they inserted in after they distorted the indigenous versions of that around the world. This is what we need to get back to, is a more pantheistic, animistic, polytheistic view of reality, because that is the true. And if you look back, far back as what ancient peoples actually knew and their primordial view of the world, it is that. And it's not this distorted version of that or this monotheism which comes out of the Middle East. It's our primordial way of viewing the world, which is we need to get back to. Because people think once they get past the whole monotheism thing that they're out of the woods, but actually look past your own distorted ancestral traditions as well, and how they've been distorted, like you were saying. And how you get back to it is basically by going back in time, literally, to basically the primordial core. It can be very hard getting past the first stages because you have to go through the darkness of the Dark Ages, which is, I found, an extremely hard one to get past, but also you've got to go through your own and see how that's all been manipulated.
That was the peak of the age of Pisces.
Yeah.
And that's what the play out of everything that we're still dealing with is. There's this major release taking place, going back to the spikes within the heart of the earth itself, pushing this stuff the fuck out. And I think a lot of people out there are experiencing beginning stages of awakening. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna have to go through that whole fucking gamut, just like we did. We started this shit over 20 fucking years ago. But this goes back eons, man. This goes back to Egypt. This goes back to pre-Atlantis, Lemuria. Even further back, all happening at present. Still caught in the 5th cycle, but are meant to cross the threshold now and seed the 6th root race. And it's not going around and breeding. No, this is consciousness. This is awareness. This is knowing. This is truth of how things actually work. And in light of Saturn, in context to Aquarius and Capricorn, that's where we're at. This is the rebellion. I feel like I'm about to fucking explode right now, Maximus. Fuck, man.
Well, I'm of the Scorpio generation, so they heavily social engineered my generation into basically extended childhoods, basically.
Yeah.
The Boomer generation and the Millennial generation, they targeted the most.
Yep. Pluto and Scorpio, man, they had to target where they fucking did because of the potential A lot of really fucking heavy music came out in the early fucking 90s.
Yeah.
Before that, the fucking 80s, man, going into the
late
late
90s.
70s and shit like that.
My generation,
Movements and all that, man. Hardcore scene.
in a sense, there's kind of like masculinity as well in there, which you just got to say what you have to say and stuff like that. Don't give a fuck. And that masculine archetype within pop culture and within music has been just demolished.
And that's all that corporate fucking pump out brainwash for the fucking youth. And they blast it on the fucking radio. The younger generations, man, what the fuck are we forging as men? This is something I want to keep driving the fuck forward, because men that are not aware of what the fuck is really going on, you're just a fucking slave. I don't care what your status is. I don't care how much fucking money or fucking material shit you got. That all don't mean nothing, dude. Ultimately, you know, it's good to have. But that's not what life is all about. You know, what is life truly all about? What are we fucking here for, right? And in the face of what the fuck is going on here with what you're saying, it does spark a fucking rage of divine masculine force within me. That blue flame consciousness. You could even refer it in context to how we're getting into things to the blue flame of anger. Michael Tesarion has spoken about the blue flame of anger. People don't know how to deal with conflict. This is the conflict of fucking ages right now. And people can't even manage their emotional projections. Back in the day, it was no problem. Me and my friends would fight and argue, and it would be fine. It would be what the fuck ever. Fuck you, motherfucker. No, fuck you. And we're still got each other's backs and shit.
Yeah.
But what we didn't realize back then was the generation of Set, like you mentioned before, being the baby boomers. Pluto in Libra generation is generation Anubis.
Yeah.
And what did it say in the Egyptian mythos? That Anubis went to war with Set. And see, Set, the offspring, is what your generation got fucking hit with. Breed this child of absolute fucking apathy and ignorance. Slave to the dark agendas, man, without even fucking knowing it.
My generation, the generation of Horus, is actually Horus the child. So Horus is known as the child. Horus had to go to war for Set also. And at the moment, you have a generation which has been hit with the boomer paradigm of how they fought, and it's been inserted in our generation. I think what we're seeing now is being an end of that now. The last basically 10 years, it's got so radical to the point the boomer consciousness of which being inserted in the millennials, and it's got so radical that basically a lot of us millennials are now kind of moving away from that because we just see it as basically destructive and very, very nihilistic. And we're kind of moving into kind of like another way of thinking now of how to operate in the world, and it's going away from this whole politically left-wing socialism, going into something else, nationalism, come out of that.
Right, but it has to happen in the right fucking way.
Yeah.
Where we make connection back to our roots, man. Otherwise, it's going to be a spin-off of the same fucking bullshit that's happened for fucking aeons now.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do. I don't like people in these nationalist circles who go on about like how much they don't like this race of people, because I think that's just shallow.
Fuck all that shit. No, you're a genuine fucking psychopath fucking asshole, then fuck off. It's nothing to do with your pigment.
Yeah.
It's to do with your state of fucking mind and your character as a sentient life form here on Earth. That's the real fucking issue.
When I speak to these people, I try to get them connected back into like, look at your ancient past. You look at these stories, look at these myths. This is how they teach you. This is how you should basically act. Not act like a nihilistic, hatefully racist person who just wants to basically project their own shadow onto other groups of people. You've got to have respect. But if ever there's another group of people that does come and attack your people, then you've got to defend you and your own people.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about defense. We don't go out and attack. We think.
We actually hold ourselves accountable instead of playing the fucking victim. Because all that shit, man, it just goes back to the fear program. Because of that psychic vampirism, because of that malignant, narcissistic, sociopathic shit, man.
Yeah.
There's no cure for malignancy. You're gonna love it back to itself? No, the fuck you're not. There's no capacity within the realm of consciousness for it to even fucking click on. All of the fucking gateways have been burned the fuck out and destroyed. And see, that's what people don't realize. There is a point of no return. And this is what people don't realize. It's not just gonna magically fix itself and you want to pass off the fucking buck falling into that savior programming. Like Manly P. Hall said in that quote that I shared with Michael DeSorio and David Whitehead, people don't realize that their soul is worth saving. The soul, the gateway to Gunungagat. And like I've mentioned already, this has been a very, very powerful segment so far. I'm going to go ahead and pull this into another break in light of the prophetic nature of the energies that both you and I are in operation with in our lives. And in context to the soul, taking it back to that music of the Scorpionic generation that is now coming into balance on the cusp with Pluto and Libra, with these codes firing up the new millennium tribal war on a quantum motherfucking level. And in light of these things that have encrypted themselves within the system mechanics of the individual, and those cubes that you're talking about, those are cubes within the heart center specifically.
Yeah.
It's this black cube technology, this tesseract technology, that's the triangulation of the 396. You can put it on the sigil of the Trinity. The other key component there, in context to the rune Tiawas, is the fulcrum, psychosomatic northern soul conflict. And see, the runes are very fucking powerful, the way that I've been working with just Tiawas literally for over 3 fucking years now. People think they're going to learn the runes in a fucking week. You can't even sit on something for a fucking day.
Yeah.
There's no fucking foundation being laid. There's no proper knowledge and wisdom going out. It's just all of this. It's the pull on the spindle. That's the fucking cause point for all of this. Chaos magic, if done correctly, it can be very fucking healing, but it's very fucking dangerous. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to share or declare before we close things out?
I'm from the wild woods. I'm not from any insane ghetto hoods. It's not gangs or hustlers you have to worry about here. It's black magic rituals, escape serial killers, and dark sorcerers putting you in a state of fear. While I walk through the fog-filled forest as a shamanic seer, talking to the spirits both embodied and disembodied while trying not to get follied by the mischievous and malevolent games. I take hold of the reins of the white dragon which resides within my blood and veins, engaging in astral combat on an interdimensional level, traveling the nine wells as a star-forming rebel, exercising my shadow while purging out the darkness within. This ain't got anything to do with original sin, like they teach you in the Christian religion, which is nothing more than a fucking poison slave system, designed to keep you spiritually stagnated, instead of encouraging you to become metaphysically elevated, along with the forms of government which leaves you mentally castrated. You see all systems of domination and control of you powers eliminated. Mastering the matrix, along with taking back you are in power, is the first step towards the collapse of the Dark Lord's tower, but also know that there's no final hour, or understanding there's no place for you to run, hide, or cower. Life's a cycle that consists of all 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and sometimes you get a nasty splinter that stabs in the very essence of your being. This gives you opportunity for you to start seeing. The darkness that hides behind the cold light of Loki, the tricks of God always giving you shit, getting you hit through his charm and wit. Sometimes you just got to give it before you could fucking hit, or you could end up like dead in a grave or pit. However, while I sit in the deep state of meditation, communicating with the Asgardian nation, contacting my ancestors as blue-eyed Caucasian, the berserker in me can't stop raging. While I'm constantly taming the beast until the day I'm deceased, in Valhalla with Odin and Thor, drinking mead and having a fucking feast. That's it.
Fuck yeah, that was fucking brilliant. That guy Grail Shaman on the motherfucking rise. Everybody, go on over and check out Maximus, his YouTube channel, Falcon Eye. If you want to message him directly, his email is elementer6@hotmail.com. That's ELEMENTER6@hotmail.com. For those of you that want to dive deep into actual initiation into the occult, check out the services page at blackearthproductions.com and send me a direct email at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. More is going to be coming in the future. It's time for the current generations to start rising the fuck up. This is SETHIKUS BOZA, Black Earth Productions. Be empowered, be encouraged.
This is the
Thank you.